As you can tell, I'm a woman, and I've had children. So at some point in my life, I was a mother-to-be. I've been involved in the pregnancy and childbirth conversation since I was pregnant with my first baby in 1970. So I've been around a long time. And I was very fortunate to develop a concept and a set of skills with hundreds and hundreds of mothers-to-be and fathers-to-be. The concept is simple, which is 100% of pregnant women are going to give birth one way or another. It's an activity each of us is going to be doing, no matter the circumstances. And because it's an activity, let's self-learn skills and then use our skills to work through the activity of birthing our baby. When that concept developed, there actually was in the United States Lamaze and Bradley. That was the second childbirth concept, a skills-based concept. The first childbirth concept, which still exists today and underlies everything, is you never know what your birth is going to be like. And so when Birthing Better Families began to develop the concept, there was already the concept, but that concept brought forward by Lamaze and Bradley was targeting low-risk women. And many women have known or unknown risks. And that targeting of low-risk women also wanted three very specific goals, which was a natural birth, pain-free labor, without any medical care around it. And many women were uncomfortable with that. They wanted medical care. They wanted care providers to be able to assess and monitor if there were any risks, to prevent risks from becoming problems and prevent problems from becoming tragedies. In 1970, we were really the first post-World War II generation, and modernity was what permitted us to call some countries developed countries or first world countries. So modern medicine was very, very popular. Even though we didn't like all elements of it, we certainly couldn't see ourselves not having it. And pain-free labor, how were we going to achieve that? Modern medicine had given us ether, scopolamine, intramuscular pain relief, and by the 1980s to today, it's epidurals. So modern medicine was dealing with pain. And why were they dealing with pain? Because there are three global childbirth goals that have always existed. The first one is everyone wants you to be alive after the birth. Curiously, it wasn't until the 80s that families wanted and demanded that their baby be alive. Prior to that, throughout time and place in the world, if a baby died at birth and a mother lived, it was accepted. The second global childbirth goal was suffering. Every culture recognizes that women can suffer in childbirth. You never know what your birth is going to be like. You don't know whether it's going to be very painful or not. You don't know whether it's going to be over with relatively soon or last for days. We don't know. And suffering has occurred throughout time and place, and every culture has been trying to deal with it. The third childbirth goal actually is something which isn't actually dealt with even today, and that is good recovery for the mother and baby, short, medium, and long term. It's sort of like after the birth, it's finished. But that's not accurate. Women have to live in their body after the birth. And if they have more children, they're living in a body that's had more babies. And that impacts our body. And it can damage our body in a lot of ways. The most common is you pee when you cough or laugh or run. But there are other problems that you can have down there. You can have pain and intimacy afterwards, or you can just not feel anything down there, or you can, in later in life, have a prolapse or a prolapse of several organs. When Birthing Better Families started to develop the concept that we should all become skilled, it was in the backdrop of already having skills. But we wanted skills for 100% of us. And we wanted skills that dealt more with the global goal number 2, how to cope and manage rather than suffer, than what kind of an outcome it was, and whether we had a pain-free labor. We couldn't make that happen. But if we had skills, then we could cope better. And when our partner was skilled and could see and hear when we moved from coping to struggling a little bit, and they had skills, they could help us regain our composure. And that was good. The other thing that we did, the mothers and fathers and I that worked together, was we created more extensive skills than Lamaze and Bradley. The Lamaze breathing wasn't functional for most of us. It was we hyperventilated. It felt lightheaded. It was hard to maintain. And the Bradley method of in the nose and out the mouth, which is one of the ways that humans breathe, in our nose and out the mouth, we can breathe in a relaxed manner doing that, but we can also do this. or this. But what tripped up the Bradley method was that fathers were going, well, she's breathing in her nose and out her mouth, so she's just doing fine. So we realized we had an issue. So we started to develop more skills. And as we developed more skills, we realized that we needed more skills. Why? Because we realized there were so many components of the activity of birthing our baby. We have to breathe all the time, in and out. Our mind is doing something every moment. Our body is in some posture or position. Things are happening inside us and to and around us. It's true, we'll never know what our birth is going to be like beforehand. But it's also true that once it starts, you can't stop until your baby's out of your body. And it unfolds 1 nanosecond at a time. And most of us in our lives have never lived 1 nanosecond at a time. And we don't know when it's going to end. It's only in hindsight that we know we had a 7-hour labor or a 72-hour labor. We had to keep going. And if our labor then converted into a cesarean, we're still doing the activity of birthing our baby. Whether we're driving to the hospital, being prepped, or having surgery, this is the activity we are doing with our baby. So as mothers and fathers, we wanted to grow a self-learning skilled birthing population so that we could all do that activity with our baby better, even if we didn't have a better birth. Yes, we gave up any type of outcome goal because of the stories that were around us. Women who wanted to have a home birth and ended up with something tragic happening at home. Women having a hospital birth that they were terrified about and having a great birth, or vice versa. What we knew was that nobody got out of pregnancy without doing the activity of birthing our baby. And what we all wanted was to feel skilled and competent. And we wanted our husbands or partners or loved ones who were going to help us prepare for the birth and hopefully be with us to know how to help us cope. That's right, cope, manage, work through the activity, deal with all the internal and external factors, stay on top of all of this, and to feel in control. And the only way that we could do that was through the application of skills. And the only way we could apply skills was if we had an abundance of them. For example, we might have very good breathing, but we might be clamping up our buttocks and our baby gets delayed. We might be very open down there, but get into a position like hands and knees, and our labor goes way off, and we end up laboring for hours. We had to learn skills to address many, many questions that came up. And those questions were simple. What if? What about? What could I do? What could I have done? What if this happens? What should I do? They did this to me. What could I have done? I was thinking this. What might I have done while this was going through my mind? We just created skills in birthing better. There are other skills-based methods. We just believe you should become skilled whether you use birthing better or not. The birthing better skills that you developed with me and fathers were very extensive for all births because under the premise 100% of pregnant women are going to give birth one way or another, and it's an activity that we're going to do, we made a decision that we wanted to be able to birth better doing that activity. No matter where we birth, no matter who was present with us at the birth, no matter our beliefs about the birth, no matter our choices or our lack of choices or the change in our choices, no matter the circumstances around the birth, and no matter what happened to or around us during the birth. In other words, the activity we're doing is independent of all of those factors because we can't control most of those factors. What we can control is our behavior. We can't control our mind. We wrote a resource called Positive and Negative Voice because many women were coming back and saying, I've been told I should trust birth, I'm terrified of it, or I trusted birth and I hated it, or I feared birth and it was fine. So those are questions. Those are statements. So what can we do about it? What skills fill in all of that? And it was simple. Our minds can rabbit on. They do. They're very active. And we can apply skills as they rabbit on. So many women, when they have just a simple skill, will say, my mind was doing this, but I chose to apply that skill, and it really helped me. Now, why do we know this is possible? Do you have kids? If you have kids, have you spent every moment of your time being a parent loving everything that they do? Of course not. There are days when we actually just hate our kids. There are days many of us would like to just kill them. We know we can't do that. So what do? We apply our skills. And we apply our skills even though internally we are saying negative things. And that's good. So we now know that doing this one-off activity that is infrequent in our life and cannot be replayed and leaves us with lifelong memories is best done when we have a set of skills. I want to tell you something. Because fathers and mothers both develop these skills, and because I've been doing this for 50 years, I can tell you men are much more receptive to becoming skilled than many women are. Many women are told, cows and cats aren't taught to birth, women don't need to. You know what kind of birth you want, make a birth plan, tell other people, and expect them to give you the birth you want. Birth's instinctive and natural, just trust it, you'll know what to do. So as women, we have indoctrinated each other to really an interesting viewpoint about birth. So if you've been indoctrinated to that, so we're going to indoctrinate you to something else, which is you're pregnant, you're going to give birth, it's an activity, learn skills to do that activity. Whether you trust it or not, whether you like it or not, whether you hate it or not, whether it's instinctive or not. In fact, as birth unfolds in a normal, natural, physiological manner, and we are working with our responses to it, we heighten our capacity to work through this activity moment to moment. But as I've gone around the world and talked to expectant fathers and mothers, men are keener than women to learn skills, and this has to change. You need to become skilled for your birth. Not because it weakens you, because it gives you the ability to work through the activity of birthing your baby, just as you learn skills to parent, except birth is a very truncated period of time, and it can be very, very intense, dramatic, and dynamic. And because it's that big, and you can't practice to it beforehand, we all need to wake up. Giving birth is an activity. All of us need to become skilled to do the activity, and all of us need to use skills to some level or not as the activity is unfolding. And if we have somebody who is skilled with us and is there with us, then they can help us cope and manage, stay on top of, feel in control, and work through the activity better, even if we do not have a better birth. I have worked with many families that have had tragedies at birth, but they have all said afterwards, I feel better because we had skills to work through this. That's important. We never know what our birth is going to be like, but when we have skills to birth our baby, we birth better. It's as simple as that. Just keep that in mind. You have a choice. You can just trust it and let it go. You may have a great birth. You may not. But just imagine using skills to enhance a great birth as it unfolds. Then you become a master. And just think of using skills to work with a birth that you don't particularly like. You then are managing an activity in a skillful manner. And that matters to the birth stories that you tell for the rest of your life. So get on board, tell everybody, become skilled, and thankfully now there are many skills-based methods you can choose from. Use your skills, work through the activity of birthing your baby, and you will birth better.